Brahma uvacha Vacham Vahnir Mukham Kshetram Chandasam Saptadhatavaha Havya Kavyamrutananam Jihva Sarva Rasasya Cha Brahma Uvacha Vacham Vahnir Mukham Kshetram Chandasam Saptadhatavaha Avyakavyamrutananam Jihva Sarva Rasasya Cha. Anybody from Prabhuji? Mukham Kshetram Chandasam Saptadatava Jihva Sarva Rasasya Cha. Brahmavacha Vachamahirvatam Kshetram Sam Taptadatavaham Sarvasachaham Brahmavacha Vacham Vahirmukam Kshetram Chandasam Saptadatavaham Kavyakavyamrutananam Jihva Sarvarasasya Cha. Brahmavacha Vacham Vahmirmukam Kshetram Chandasam Taptadatavaham Havya Kavyamrutananam Jihva Sarvam Yascha. Brahma Vacha. Lord Brahma said, Vacham of the voice, Vahne of fire, Mukham the mouth, Kshetram the generating center, Chandasam of the Vedic hymns such as Gayatri, Sapta 7, Datava skin and 6 other layers, Havya Kavya offerings for the demigods and the forefathers, Amrita food for human beings, Annanam of all sorts of foodstuffs, Jihva the tongue, Sarva all, Rasasya of all delicious, Cha also. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Lord Brahma said, the mouth of the Virat Purusha, the universal form of the Lord, is generating center of the voice and the controlling deity is fire. His skin and 6 other layers are the generating centers of the Vedic hymns, and his tongue is the productive center of different foodstuff and delicious for offering to the demigods, the forefathers, and the general mass of people. Purport. The opulences of the universal form of the Lord are described herein. It is said that his mouth is the generating center of all kinds of voices, and its controlling deity is the fire demigod. And his skin and other six layers of the bodily construction are the representatives, generating centers of the seven kinds of Vedic hymns, like the Gayatri. Gayatri is the beginning of all Vedic mantras, and it is explained in the first volume of Srimad Bhagavatam. Since the generating centers of all are generation centers are the different parts of the universal form of the Lord, and since the form of the Lord is transcendental to the material creation, it is to be understood that the voice, the tongue, the skin, etc., suggest that the Lord in his transcendental form is not without them. The material voice or the energy of taking in foodstuff is generated originally from the Lord. Such actions are but perverted reflections of the original reservoirs. The transcendental situation is not without spiritual variegatedness. In the spiritual world, all the perverted forms of material variegatedness are fully represented in their original spiritual identity. The only difference is the material activities are contaminated by the three modes of material nature, whereas the potencies in the spiritual world are all pure because they are engaged in the unalloyed transcendental loving service of the Lord. In the spiritual world, the Lord is sublime enjoyer of the enjoy everything, and the living entities are all engaged in his transcendental loving service without any contamination of the modes of the material nature. The activities in the spiritual world are without any of the difficulties of the material world, but there is no question of impersonal avoidance on the spiritual platform, as suggested by the impersonalist devotional service is defined in the Narada Pancharatra as follows. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam तत् परत्वेन निर्मलम हृषिकेन हृषिकेश सेवनम भक्तिरुच्यते. Originally, since all the senses are produced of the Lord's reservoir of the senses, the sensual activities of the material world are to be purified by the process of devotional service, and thus the perfection of the life can be attained simply by purifying the present position of our material activities. And the purifying process begins from the stage of being liberated from the conception of the different designations. Every living entity is engaged in some sort of service, either for the self or for the family or for the society, country, etc. But unfortunately, all such services are rendered due to the material attachment. The attachments of the material affinity may be simply changed to the service of the Lord, and thus the treatment of being freed from material attachment begins automatically. The process of liberation is therefore easier through the devotional service than by any other methods. Uh, for in Bhagavad Gita 12.5, it is said that one is subjected to the various kinds of tribulations if one is impersonally attached. Klesho adhikatarastesham avyaktasakta chetasam. Thank you very much. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तु ते. तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामिन्यति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. Okay, so we are in the second canto, sixth chapter. Very difficult chapter to understand and a very difficult section in Srimad Bhagavatam. But although it is very difficult, it is very important for us to develop faith on Krishna. So whether we understand or not, one thing that we should understand is Krishna is cause of all causes. That much we should understand. That is very important. Okay, so if you see the connection of this particular canto with uh, first canto, uh, the first canto, uh, uh, Sukadeva Goswami started answering the questions of Parikshin Maharaj, right? In which one of the question was the last question that he asked was, "What is the duty of a person who is about to die?" This was the question he asked out of all six questions, one of these questions. So answering this question, second canto started. So we need to understand the duty of a person who is about to die. So that's why the second canto started. In the second canto, chapter 1, if you see, he started with the God realization. Okay. So here we need to understand what is God, and we need to understand about the uh, Guna, Rupa, Leelas of Krishna. So we need to uh, know how to hear Srimad Bhagavatam or Krishna Katha from the authorized sources. Okay, this is something that we try to understand about the God. Then the second chapter he started with Lord in the heart, Paramatma. So we should realize Lord. So Lord is all pervading and he is there everywhere and he is there in our heart also. So this is what we try to understand. If you see there he was telling about again Virat Rupa also. The purpose for why he was telling the Virat Rupa there was the yogis who meditate on Virat Rupa. That time he was explaining about the Virat Rupa there. Again in this chapter also we are going to see the Virat Rupa. But the purpose of Virat Rupa here is different from the purpose of Virat Rupa in the initial chapters of the second canto. Okay. So there the neophyte yogis meditate on Virat Rupa, universal form, so that they develop faith and then they start meditating on Paramatma. So not any yogi can meditate on Paramatma directly. The object of meditation for a neophyte yogi should be universal form. Then once he develops a faith, once he develop concentration more and more, then he can change the object of meditation to Paramatma. So that was the concept. So that's where he explained about the Virat Rupa concept. So then the chapter 3 started with the change in the heart. Okay, so once we start meditating upon the Paramatma form and universal form, and after that the Paramatma form, then the transformation starts in our heart. We start believing in Krishna. We start, adopting to the process of devotional service. So the transformation starts means the contaminations goes. The contaminations that we had earlier will no more be there. That is the idea. So then the transform with the transformation, then um, chapter 4 starts with explaining about how the creation has started. Okay, so the purpose of why Sukadeva Goswami was explaining why the creation started was to understand that the Krishna is the source of everything. And this material creation is from Krishna. This is the fact that we need to understand. So far, if you see, the conversation was between Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshin Maharaj. While this conversation is going on, the Sukadeva Goswami takes an example of the conversation between the Brahmadev and Narada Muni. Okay, so that's where the 5th chapter starts. So in the 5th chapter, Narada Muni asked Brahmadev that I don't see anybody else superior than you. I could see that the whole thing is created by you and you are maintaining and you are destroying. So you are the Supreme Lord. This is what I can see. I can't see beyond you anything. But if that is the fact, whom are you meditating upon? Whom are you worshipping? This is the question Narada Muni asked. Of course, Narada Muni knows everything. Narada Muni is not that, I know, illiterate that he does not know the answer for the question that he asked. But however, for our benefit, Narada Muni is asking because we all are, worshipping so many demigods. We all are at a different stages thinking that everybody is a god and we are worshipping at our level. So we all need to understand through Brahmadev so that who is the, he is the one who is the a main guru in our sampradaya, right? The Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, Brahmadev is someone who is the first guru. So if we can hear from the person who is who directly heard from Krishna or who is directly realized the knowledge from Krishna, then that knowledge is authentic. Okay. So that's why Brahmadev was explaining that I am not the Supreme Lord. I am not the Supreme Lord. I am not creating anything. I'm not creating anything. I am only taking help of Supreme Lord, and with his blessings, I am doing the secondary creation. So the primary creation was already done by Krishna. The primary creation was already done by Krishna. I'm only doing the secondary creation. That means the ingredients are already there. I'm only making the recipe, the sambar. Okay. So I am not the actual Purusha. The Purusha is Supreme Lord. This is what Brahmadev is telling. And if you see the chapter of second canto, 6th chapter is about Purusha Sukta confirmed. Okay. So why this chapter is named like this? It is to establish the fact that who is real Purusha. How does it matter for all of us if Purusha Sukta is not confirmed? Purusha is not confirmed, right? Because in South India, if you see, Purusha Sukta is played in all the temples, even in the demigods temples. Just because the reason in Purusha Sukta, who is Purusha was not mentioned. In Purusha Sukta, who is Purusha was not mentioned. So everybody considers themselves as a Purusha. And they play for themselves. And even in South India, the people who worship demigods, they play Purusha Sukta for their demigods. So with this misconception, we will understand, the Purusha wrongly. So to avoid that, Purusha Sukta is confirmed here by Srila Prabhupada. Okay. So now we need to understand who is Purusha, not from Purusha Sukta, from the context where the Purusha Sukta was explained. Right? So if you see, the Purusha Sukta started from the second canto, 5th chapter, 35th verse onwards. And before that, the Purusha was described. Before that, the Purusha was described. Who was that Purusha? That Purusha was Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu here in this context. because he was explaining the creation, and creation was made of so many elements, and these elements form like a universe. And in this universe, Lord uh, Mahavishnu entered as Garbhodakasai, so that he has given the life to this universe. So this was explained before Purusha Sukta started. That means any verse that is going to be spoken after this explanation is going to be about Garbhodakasai Vishnu. So the Purusha was confirmed there. Who was Purusha? Garbhodakasai Vishnu. So the material creation is the body of Garbhodakasai Vishnu. So that's why we need to understand the Virat Rupa is the material form of Garbhodakasai. Virat Rupa is the material form of Garbhodakasai. So the Purusha is confirmed. See, in here it was, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada was clearly explaining about the Mayavadi's, principles. So in the earlier ages, there were no Vaishnava Sampradayas, no Sri Sampradaya, no Gaudiya Sampradaya, Brahma Madhva Sampradaya, or Gaudiya Sampradaya. There were no Vaishnava Sampradayas. They used to understand from the Vedas. They used to understand from Shrutis. There was no Smriti at that time. They consider God as impersonal Brahman. It is very difficult for us to understand anything directly from Shrutis, because it's clearly not understandable Sanskrit. They are all Vedic hymns, which is very difficult for anyone to understand. If you cannot understand the Vedic hymns, you cannot speak anything about the Lord. Whether Lord is a personal form, Lord is impersonal form, we don't understand. Because we are trying to understand it from directly Shrutis. Shruti is directly a Shabda Brahman, which is directly coming from the mouth of Lord. It's very difficult. We need Smriti to understand the Shrutis. Shrutis are Puranas, and the purports that are given by the Acharyas are Smritis. If you don't take the help of Smritis, you cannot understand Shruti. That is the reason we all are having misunderstanding about who is Purusha. Who is Purusha, we don't understand. We think impersonal Brahman, or we think demigods or Purushas. Okay? So that's why the Smritis are very, very important. If Shruti is like a gold chain in which there are so many links, if one link is missing, then what happens? You can't understand the Shruti. Okay? So for making this gold chain perfect, what you need? You need to replace the missing link. And that missing link also should be made of gold. Right? Missing link is not non-gold. Only then it is complete. Otherwise, it is incomplete. So the Smriti is also like a missing link, which is completing the Shrutis, the Vedas, which we don't understand. Smritis make us understand the Vedas in a right way. This is something that we need to understand from Puranas. Puranas does not mean that it is very old. Purana mean it makes the knowledge complete, Purna. Okay, so that's why Puranas are very, very important. Srimad Bhagavata Purana explains us who is that Purusha before even starting the Purusha Sukta. So the verse from 35th of 5th chapter similar to the Purusha Sukta. In the Purusha Sukta also, whatever is explained, the meaning of the Purusha Sukta and the verse 35th onwards, whatever is explained is also exactly same meaning. There is no difference. That's why in the sixth chapter, Srila Prabhupada is saying the name of the sixth chapter as Purusha Sukta confirmed. That means Purusha Sukta is spoken about the Lord, Supreme Lord. Okay. So here Lord Brahma is speaking, so it is very, very authentic. Because we all are thinking, as Narada Muni says, that Brahma is the creator. Brahma is only seen. Nobody else is seen beyond Brahma. So Brahma must be the Supreme Lord. So when we all are thinking, even Devatas, when they have some problems, they go to Brahma, thinking that Brahma will solve the problems. Brahma is a creator. Because even Devatas were created by Brahma. But Brahma himself is saying, I am not the Supreme Lord, I am not the creator. So it is more authentic than anything else. Okay. So because Brahma's words are like the smritis, which are helping us to understand the real knowledge that is coming from Supreme Lord. So he is saying about the Virat Purusha, Virat Rupa. Why he is talking about the Virat Purusha here is that the Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu is entering into the universe. And this universe is coming into existence because of the Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu. So the whole universe should be considered as the material body of Supreme Lord. The whole universe should be considered as a material body of Supreme Lord. That means anything that you see in this universe is the generating center. What is the generating center for the whole thing that we see in this material universe is the Garbhodaka Sai, the Supreme Lord. That's why he's explaining here the mouth of Virat Purusha, the universal form of the Lord, is the generating center of the voice. The voice. When Lord wants to talk, when Lord wants to speak, the mouth created. Okay, the mouth created. It's all with the wish and the will of the Lord, the material universe is created. The mouth with which we are speaking is created from this material universe, mouth. The mouth of the material universe. And not only the mouth, and he's also talking about the governing deity of this mouth. The governing deity of this mouth is fire. That means we need to understand one thing here is that the senses and the senses governing deities are created from the Lord. The Lord's material form. So the Lord's material form is different from the Lord, and the senses and the governing deities are created from the Lord's material form. Okay. So the gross and the subtle elements are created from the body of Supreme Lord. And the Supreme Lord is different from what he has created. And his skin and 6 other layers are the generating centers of the Vedic hymns. The first, see, there are 6 types of Vedic hymns which are Gayatri. Okay, 6 types of Gayatris are there. And each Gayatri is generated from the 6 different layers of the God's body, Lord's body. One is from the skin, and one is from one is from the skin, one is from the hair, one is from the flesh, one is from the veins, and one is from some other parts of the body, like that. There are different parts of the body, different Vedic hymns have come. All these are called Gayatris. Okay, so and his tongue is the productive center of the different foodstuffs and delicious for offering to the demigods, the forefathers, and the general mass of the people. So the tongue is also created from the universal form of the Lord, and such as tongue is created for enjoying the foodstuff, right? And enjoying the foodstuff. So, and there is the demigod who is the governing deity of the tongue also. So, like that, the upcoming verses up to 16 verses of this particular chapter, he talks about the different senses and each senses governing deities, and how we are able to see, the capability of seeing, capability of talking, capability of smelling, the capability of doing anything using our senses, how we are getting is explained clearly in the upcoming 16 verses. Okay, so we will see that in detail later. So what we need to understand is that we all are part and parcel of Supreme Lord. If we understand this, we use our senses for a better purpose. That is the motive behind explaining all these things. We all are using our senses for the sense gratification, right? For gratifying our senses. So we all wish to enjoy something and use our senses and enjoy. This is what we are doing. So Prabhupada says follow regulative principles. The reason to regulate our senses, to use our senses in the service of Supreme Lord, not for gratifying. Okay. So the people who don't understand the fact of why we are given these senses and why we are given this human body, they use their human body for lower purposes. Lower purposes. So that's why if all the senses like the demigods and the senses, everything is part of the body of the Supreme Lord who has created, then what is the duty of all these parts? Is to serve the Supreme Lord. If we don't do that and if we serve ourselves, that's why in the purport we are saying, Prabhupada is telling that we are serving ourselves and we are serving our family, we are serving our society, we are serving our nation. Extended me. This is called extended me. Okay. Either we are thinking we are not serving anybody, but the fact is we are serving ourselves. If we say, no, I'm not working for myself only, at least we are working for our families. Okay, our family is also extended me. Okay, if you say not only for my family, I am also working for society, we are extending ourselves to the society. We are extending ourselves to the nation. But we are serving. But those who are saying that I'm not serving, they are not realizing it. But they are serving. But if we are serving, is our service in a right direction? Are we doing the service in a right way? No, because the service is meant for Krishna. Okay. So if you understand that everything is created from the Lord, which is spiritual being, who is not material, that means everything that we see grossly in this material world is the perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Perverted reflection of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. Right? So everything that we see in this material world is a reflection of the Supreme Lord's body. Reflection of Supreme Lord's body. Whereas the senses that we have, whereas the material objects that we have, the gross things that we have, we are using it for a material purpose. Whereas in the perverted reflection, they are not used for the material reason. They are all spiritual. They are used for the spiritual purpose. They are all spiritual because they are part of Supreme Lord and they are meant for serving the Supreme Lord. So the gross elements and the gross senses that we have are contaminated because these elements and the senses are not used for the service of the Supreme Lord. But whereas in the spiritual world, every element here, every part here, every gross element here has a spiritual reflection, the perverted reflection, which is 100% spiritual because they don't have any self motive. Their purpose is to serve Krishna. Everything is served, used for the service of Krishna. The only enjoyer is Supreme Lord, who is Krishna. That's why we call everything in Vrindavan is spiritual. Although there is a stone, there is a tree, there is a bird, there is everything gross that we can see, they are spiritual because everything is used in the service of Supreme Lord, not for themselves. Right? So, for the lives after life, we have used our senses for our own gratification. So, our senses are completely contaminated. And it is very important for us to purify our senses. It is very important to purify ourselves. If we don't purify ourselves, the purpose for why the human body is given is not rightly used, misused. Right? So that's why here it was explained. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam. Hrishikena hrishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. So Hrishikena hrishikesha. Hrishikesha means the master of all senses. The master of all senses should be served with all the senses. Only then the senses will be purified. So the benefit of Bhakti Yoga is to get purification. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam. So we will be relieved from all the material designations that we have. Okay. And the purification starts. That is the benefit of the Bhakti Yoga. So a person in Krishna consciousness uses his senses in the service of Krishna. Right? His knowledge also is used for the service of Krishna. His mind is also used for the service of Krishna, which is the topmost service, which is explained in Bhagavad Gita, 12th chapter. A one who uses his mind and the intelligence is a topmost yogi, topmost bhakta. If we cannot use that, we will use our senses in the service of Supreme Lord. Material senses. That means serve with subtle senses. Then if you cannot serve with your subtle senses, serve with your gross senses. Okay. So the purpose for why we serve with the gross senses is to purify our subtle senses. To purify our subtle senses. Here it is clearly explained that the senses are not just gross, senses are also subtle. That's why he is telling the face. From the face, the voice is coming, and the presiding deity of the voice is fire god. Okay. So you can see the gross element and you can also see the subtle element in whatever is created by Supreme Lord. So we should use our senses in the service of Supreme Lord. So another important theme that we need to understand is the Supreme Lord has all these senses. We cannot say that the Supreme Lord is not having senses. If Supreme Lord is not having senses, we also don't have senses. Right? If we can see the form in ourselves, if we can see the form, whatever we are seeing in this material world, that means the Supreme Lord also has a form. And that form is supposed to be the worshipping object for all of us. The Mayavadis who are dependent only on the Smritis, who don't consider Smritis as superior, or they consider the Smritis as inferior, that's why they realize the Supreme Lord as impersonal Brahman. And they consider that the Supreme Lord has no senses. Supreme Lord is like an impersonal Brahman. In one of the canto it will come in Swayambhuva Manu, when he wanted to take darshan of Supreme Lord, he asked Supreme Lord to dim his effulgence so that he can see Supreme Lord clearly. Right? If you look at the sun, if sun rays are so sharp, can you realize the form of the sun? We can't. So we need to see the sun in the evening time, so that when the sunlight is dimmed. In the same way, when Swayambhuva Manu wanted to, take darshan of Supreme Lord, he asked Supreme Lord, can you dim your effulgence so that I can see your, lotus feet, beautiful lotus feet. I can see your beautiful lotus face. I can see your beautiful lotus eyes. Okay. That means the Puranas are confirming that the Supreme Lord has a form, and that Supreme Lord is none other than Lord Krishna, whose expansion. See, the light that we are saying is the expansion of the Supreme Lord. Expansion of Supreme Lord. If you see the Pancha Tattva, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Ishvara Tattva. And Nityananda Prabhu is Prakasha Tattva. Nityananda Prabhu is Prakasha Tattva, the Supreme Lord's effulgence. Okay. So anything that is expanded from the Supreme Lord. All these, whether it is a impersonal Brahman, or it is Mahavishnu, or Garbhodaka Vishnu, or Kshirodaka Vishnu, anything which is only the expansion of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Okay. So the five Panchatattva explains about five tattvas clearly. Okay. So Ishvara Tattva, Prakasha Tattva, Avatara Tattva, and Jiva Tattva. What is the fifth one? Shakti Tattva. Right? So these are the five tattvas were explained in Panchatattva. So these are all the expansions of the Supreme Lord. Whether it's a Prakasha Tattva or Avatara Tattva or a Shakti Tattva, which is whole material, the Lord's energy in this material nature, or the Jiva Tattva, means ourself. We are the expansion of Lord Krishna. So such a Lord Krishna is real Purusha, which is established in this chapter. Okay. So the essence of this particular verse is that the senses or the gross elements or the subtle senses that we have are the created from the Supreme Lord's body, and Supreme Lord is real Purusha, who is explained as Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, and the Purusha Sukta is meant for glorifying Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, not for any other demigod. And it is an offense glorifying demigod using the Purusha Sukta, because demigod also does not like hearing the Purusha Sukta for himself. Right? If you see in Tamil Nadu, in temples of Murugan, they play Purusha Sukta. Murugan also will be closing his ears when the Purusha Sukta was played for him. Right? So it is meant for Purusha, which is established in Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why Prabhupada named it as Purusha Sukta, confirmed. Okay, so we will end the chapter, we'll end the shloka here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Thank you very much. Any questions? I'm not the right person to explain this verse. I don't have any qualification. It's very difficult. There are experts here who can add anything if I'm missing. Avadut Prabhu, Abhay Prabhu.
But then it's mentioned in the corporate, it is for the upcoming generation who hear this. They should not think that just whatever Krishna showed to Arjuna is story.
Hmm.
Therefore, Arjuna, for the benefit of the 10 upcoming people, is also asking him to show the Virat Rupa, which confirms that whatever Krishna has told is also a perfect Brahman.
Yeah.
So, Sapta Brahman,
Yeah.
people should not pay attention to Hanuman, therefore,
Exactly.
yeah. Kind of, and therefore, uh, after this second temple also there will be certain instances where the Virat Rupa or the universal form will be discussed. Like for example, another way will also discuss it. And when Maharaj Ramana discussion episode is going on, then it will also be. So different levels of Virat Rupa are discussed in order to convince different levels of consciousness of people, because there are 9 lakh different types of people. They need different. That's why. This is one of the dimensions of seeing that why so many times
Yeah.
Lord early electric community. Though devotees are not really directly interested in Virat Rupa, there is and then Arjuna says so many of them form directly for this. This is
Actually, about this Purusha, whatever we are reading here is a Shabda Pramana, right? And upcoming chapters, we will also see the Pratyaksha Pramana. Brahma explaining about the Lord's form, which he has directly seen. That is Pratyaksha Pramana. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. No questions? We'll end the class. Yes. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, see, in the second canto, second chapter, the purpose of the chapter is to meditate upon Paramatma. The yogis should meditate upon Paramatma. Uh, Actually, in Ashtanga Yoga, uh, the meditation starts after dharana. Okay. So, dharana means the installing the deity which you want to meditate upon. Which should, for yogis, the object of meditation is Paramatma. When you start meditating on Paramatma, with lack of faith and with lack of conviction that the Supreme Lord is expanded as Paramatma in my heart, so I may not get proper concentration. So first of all, I should get conviction that I'm meditating upon something which is supreme. So then their mind will not be able to concentrate on the Supreme Lord or maybe on the Paramatma. For a Bhakti Yogi, the meditation object is Lord Krishna. Okay, but whereas for a Dhyana Yogi, the meditation object is Paramatma. Uh, since he started from the scratch and he wanted to progress in this meditation path, and ultimate meditation in Dhyana Yoga is meditating on Paramatma and going into the Samadhi state, but which is not happening because his senses are contaminated, his thoughts are materialistic thoughts. So then he has to change his object of meditation from Paramatma to Virat Rupa. This was explained there. Okay. So why Virat Rupa has to be meditated by a neophyte yogi is that he will realize that everything that I am thinking, everything that I am seeing, everything that which is disturbing me is part and parcel of Supreme Lord. Virat Rupa explains, right? Say, I want to eat meat. Say, when I'm meditating upon Paramatma, I might be getting a smell of some masala, some tasty food stuff. Then what happens? Our concentration goes on the eating object. Okay, now which may be meat or it may be anything which we have tasted earlier. So we will never be able to meditate on Paramatma, and then we start meditating upon this. Then if we understand that the tongue that it wants to taste the food that is seen here is the tongue of the Supreme Lord, by meditating on the universal form, then will you be interested in tasting that food which cannot be offered to Supreme? Right? Even though it is very tasty for us, but when we are keeping that tasty food on our tongue, which is the tongue of Supreme Lord, we will not offer. So that means anything that we are keeping in our tongue is something which is offering, which we are offering to Krishna, because this is the part tongue of the Supreme Lord's tongue. Right? The tongue of the whole jivas here together is the tongue of the Virat Rupa. That means you are keeping the chicken piece on the tongue of the Virat Rupa. When you realize this, no, then you will give up the taste. You will give up the desire for enjoying the taste. Then you will have a faith on Krishna, and then you will start meditating. You will be able to concentrate on Paramatma at that time. That's why the Virat Rupa was explained there. Otherwise, we don't understand that we all are part and parcel of Krishna. Shri Shri Radha Madhav ki, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki, Panch Tattva ki, Gaur Nitai ki. Okay. Anything else?
The description goes the sun.
Yeah.
So when it says description, actually, the description per se does not reflect Garbhoda initially. So we have the association. The association portion still exists.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't appear in the
Okay. So why Sahasra Sirsha for Garbhodakasai? Right? Garbhodakasai came from Mahapurusha, Mahavishnu. Is Garbhodakasai one? Unlimited. So that's why Garbhodakasai is called as Sahasra Sirsha. Okay. So it's not one universe. For every universe, Krishna has expanded himself as a Garbhodakasai Vishnu. For one universe, one Garbhodakasai Vishnu. There are unlimited universes. That means there are unlimited Garbhodakasai Vishnus. There are unlimited Garbhodakasai Vishnus doesn't mean that the Garbhodakasai Vishnus are different. He is one. But he is there in every universe. Like how you said, Kshirodakasai Vishnu is there everywhere in everybody, which does not mean that the Kshirodakasai Vishnu is multiple. He is one. Right? He is one, so he is saying Sahasra Sirsha applicable for Kshirodakasai Vishnu. If it is applicable for Kshirodakasai Vishnu, it should be applicable for Garbhodakasai Vishnu also, because he is there in every universe. Prabhu, can you add? Convincing? Huh? Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Hare Krishna.
So there is one time to get Muralipriya for explaining this verse for the Vasis. I will be chanting Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare Ram, Hare